given to me not as a replacement to Callie, but for me to have another opportunity, to take care of another pet and have that experience, even though with my loss. I'll never forget Callie. I mean, to think like, can you imagine somebody purposely running over a cat to kill it?
Yeah, people are fucking evil.
Yeah.
Louis not like ready for us to podcast yet.
Oh no, he's just like wow, wow, wow.
Oh, he's been like
little
a
Frankenstein.
toddler. Yeah, he's like an actual toddler. I'm gonna have to capture him and then like hold him in my lap.
Oh Jesus! Oh my God, that is intense.
Oh,
Whoa.
man.
So, for anybody that's listening and knows this, Louis is a pug. He's an adorable little pug, but just like when he opens up his mouth, his entire face goes away. When he barks, oh boy, does he bark. Louis should get the Guinness World Record for the longest barking dog, I personally feel.
It's awful. Like, it's not what I wanted for the behavior of my dog. Like, I feel like nobody wants like a yipper, and like,
No.
I feel like I tried really hard, but I was in an abusive relationship. And so, like, when he was a puppy, he was around somebody who just like yelled all the fucking time. And so, like, there wasn't really much I could do. Like, I got him out as soon as I could, but I don't know. Sometimes he just barks his little fucking head off.
See, those are like the things about having pets that people kind of tend to forget is those little tiny itsy bitsy eeny inconveniences.
Well, he just won't stop. Like, we were on the phone for 17 minutes right before we started recording.
Oh my God, you actually counted how long we were on the phone call? Oh, okay.
No, the phone does that for me. I just looked to see how long the phone call was, and it was like 17 minutes. And I know that he barked the entire phone call.
Whoa.
Like,
that is nuts.
He's just like...
Look at that stature.
Ouch. I think he's overly tired. And so, like, he wants to take a nap, but he's, like, overly tired. Yeah. Can you hear me pretty good?
Oh, yeah. I can hear you perfectly well.
Good. Okay. Because I don't want to adjust my microphone because it wants to fall over.
Yes, we had that issue. We had that issue last week. Oh!
I'm in a much better mood than I was last week, which is good. Like, last week I was, like, kind of just, like, easily pissed off. And, like, I don't know. My mom keeps, like, moving things around. Like, I'll, like, put things in one place and then she'll, like, move it to a different place.
Oh, my mom does that too.
Why?
Same thing.
Like, it's just something that I have not gotten used to about living in the same place as her. Like, I'm just like, what the hell? Like, I, like, went outside in my storage and brought, like, my cutting board, my cutting knives, like, all the stuff that I use for, like, cooking food, like, just little tongs and, like, my favorite spatula, like, the stuff that, like, I know how to make my food, work the way I want.
Right.
She put all of it back. She went and put it all back into my storage. And I was like, what did I, like, why? Why do you think I brought it inside? Like, why do you think it was put inside? Like, what? Did I bring it inside for it to be put back where it was? Like, I just don't understand. And I can't find anything anywhere. It's just like, I don't know. Like, she doesn't realize how irritating that is. It's like,
it is very irritating.
I put something in one place and it's not where I left it. Like, it's crazy.
Exactly. I mean, it is crazy. And it's funny because I remember a few weeks ago, I made dinner for my mom. And I asked her for chicken broth because I was making a roast. And my mom keeps her stocks in the closet, okay? That's where she always keeps it, in the closet. But she only had broccoli soup that was there, okay? All right, we made the best that what we had. Sure enough, I open up her spice rack. 2 containers of chicken stock were in her spice rack. I was like, Ma, you put it in there, and now you're moving it over there. Like, why? What is the point? Why are you putting that in the spice rack? And she's like, oh, I don't know. I thought it was supposed to be there. What? You always put it in the cabinet over there. You've never put it there before. And she was making as though like it's always been there.
Yeah. I don't
It's the
know.
worst. It's the
It's
worst.
okay, so like I have an electric toothbrush and like it goes on a charger, you know?
Right.
But
Yeah.
like I don't sit the electric toothbrush on the charger all the time because if it's fully charged, it's like fucking insane. Like it's like like, just like I have like a machine gun in my mouth, and I like can't
AK-47, like
stand it.
bazooka, like
Oh my gosh, it's like like just like vibrating the absolute hell out of my mouth. Like it's not a relaxing
you want to
experience.
know right now that would be an affordable vibrator if there hasn't been any.
Dude, it was so intense. And like I told her, I'm communicating. I'm like, "Mom, I don't want my toothbrush on the charger every night. Like I want it to kind of like charge like every 3 days or something like that, and that's like fine." And she will deliberately put it back onto the charger every single night, knowing that I don't want it on there every single night. And like I'm not around enough to like stop her.
I
And then I
don't.
look over, there it is on the fucking charger. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, am I gonna have to hide it from you? I'm gonna have to hide my toothbrush for it to not be like, like, every time I
Lock
brush my
and
teeth. I'm
key?
like,
Did you
oh
have
my
to like?
God, like, you know that I don't want it that way. I have communicated and told you, like, I'll take care of it. And it's just like, every time I pick up my toothbrush twice a day, like, I'm like, oh my God, like, this is not okay. And she's like, well, it should be fully charged. It's better for your teeth. And I'm like, it's fine. Like, does it matter what I want?
Like
Like,
you might have to go to the levels of putting that fucking toothbrush into a plastic bag, open up the toilet cover, put it in there, sneakishly like at 11:35 every night, like da-dun, da-dun, da-dun.
dude, I took the toothbrush and I put it in my room, okay? And
Whoa,
and then,
that's next
like
level.
yeah, and then the next day, it was on the charger. I was like, "What the hell?" Like, I can't just put it in my room, I'm gonna have to put it in, like, an actual hiding spot, like, where she can't find it, you know? Like, I'm like,
Oh my god.
I remember in high
My,
school, I had to be like, "Mom, you're not allowed to come into my room," and, like, I don't wanna go there, like, now. Like, I'm like, "I think I shouldn't have to tell you that," like, be, like,
yeah,
touching my things and, like, moving my stuff around and, like
believe it or not, that's actually how my mom found out I was gay.
yeah, by coming into your room? I
Yep.
know.
She admitted it like years, and like now, of course, she doesn't admit to it anymore. She's like, "Oh, I don't know what you're talking about," but you know,
Does she just, like, gaslight she does, she just acts like you're
oh, for
not
sure.
gay?
Oh
Like,
yeah,
"No,
for
you're
sure.
not.
Plenty
You're
of
not gay."
times. Oh yeah, plenty of times. She's like, "Oh, you don't find that girl attractive?" And I'm like, "No, ma, I don't find that girl attractive in that way." And her response is, "What do you mean in that way?" And I'm like, "What are you not understanding? A banana is curvy. I am not. I'm not straight. I'm curved like a banana." I do that as a joke because my mom doesn't like sexually derived jokes. My mom doesn't like a lot of things. She doesn't like swearing, which, believe it or not, my mom's level of swearing is crap. Yes, crap and shit is swearing. Even though
So
on
what
this
does she
podcast,
say when she's frustrated?
oh, she curses.
Yeah.
Listen. Okay, for any newcomers, and you know this, my mom is a New Yorker. Okay, she's from Brooklyn, and she's Jewish. Okay, they are the most nosy, hypocritical, pesty, obnoxious, wonderful, talented, incredible mothers that have ever existed on the planet. Yes, they're the biggest pains on earth, but they're fucking wonderful because they're so hardworking. Like with all of the issues, I would say probably even with your own mom, with all of the issues, like at its core, I think they do this shit not because they want to piss us off,
No.
because they care for us and they feel that they know better because they want to they have that in them. I mean, like for fucking Christ's sakes, my mom raised me for 20 years. You know? We got to take that in for account as well.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad because I feel like when I complain about, stuff like me doing something and her like reversing it, I feel like she like takes it really personal and like thinks that, I'm like mad at her and like don't appreciate things. It's like, no, I just don't want my stuff moved around all the time. Like, it makes it hard for me. Like, you're creating a challenge for me. Like, you're creating, like, a difficulty. Like, you're ruining my toothbrush time. Like, every time I brush my teeth, it's not relaxing anymore. It's insane. So, I'm like,
Yeah.
just, I don't know.
It's weird. It is. You know what I think the weirdest thing that I've had to like come to realization with is like I think the biggest pride to my mom more than anything is for me to just be happy. Like plain and simple. She just wants me to be happy. And I know this because she expresses it when we talk and when we're on the phone. And it's strange when you become a parent. I've never experienced this. Maybe in the future I will. This bond and connection you have, and I feel as you get older, and you probably have a lot more wisdom on this, like you start to realize it more and start to
What? Because
really
I'm old? No.
No, you just
I'm
have more.
fucking with you.
No, you have more parent experience than I do. I mean, you've experienced your parents longer than I have. I mean,
I'm just talking over you. I'm sorry.
no, you're please. We're supposed to be obnoxious, annoying, and irritating on this podcast. That's the point.
Yeah.
Is it?
There I definitely I wanna talk about just whatever comes to mind, but one thing that I definitely wanted to touch on is, have you heard
Well,
about
are we
Huh?
skipping the whole mom thing?
We can continue the mom conversation, and I'll just tell you there's a thing that I
Okay,
wanna
we'll talk
touch
about it
on
later.
later.
Yes,
Okay.
let's talk about this.
Alright.
Okay, yes.
No, 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 wait, the mom thing? Are you ready to move on to my weird subject?
I'll make a note down. I'm
I made
stoned
a
right.
note. I made a note that I have a weird thing to talk about, but
Okay. You're good. I'm gonna do my thing. You
I
do
built
your
it up now.
thing. Yeah.
Okay, have you heard that, like, about the cyber hacks that are happening in Las Vegas?
Can you elaborate? I haven't been reading the news.
Yeah, okay, so somebody, like, hacked the entire system and, like, shut it down in Las Vegas, all the MGM hotels and casinos, have been completely hacked, meaning that, like, all hotel reservations can be completely wiped. They're not able to take credit card payments of any
Whoa.
kind. They have absolutely 0 internet access. Like like, the mainframe of all MGM hotels and casinos has been completely compromised. Not only were they completely compromised, but there was like a I don't know how to say it, like a ransom type message that was sent and said, like, "Pay us this much money and we'll reverse it." So, they needed to pay them, like, such and such, like, 100,000, billion, who knows, money, and then they will unhack the system, and it can be, like, used again, but the thing is, like, as soon as it's, like, they pay them off, they just hack it again and then ask for more money, so there really is no, like, paying them off and then, like, you know? So, I just wonder, like, who's doing it. People were saying that, like, Russia was doing it. I could believe that, like, the actual, like, MGM themselves could be doing it just to, like, get money. I could believe that there's somebody that works for the company that figured out how
Okay,
to do it.
this is from CNBC. Thankfully, I have my iPad here. I always forget this for the podcast. Always.
That you can do research, like, while we're recording?
While we're doing this, and I have a nice screen for this too.
Okay, but,
Okay,
like,
so
here, before you read the whole news, what do you think
no, no, no,
about what
I'm
I
not.
just
I'm gonna
told
go
you?
through the. I'm gonna go
I know,
through
but
the.
what I just told you, before you even look at the news, what do you think about what I just told you?
30,
30,000,000? Is that
30
what their
million.
ransom is for?
Yes, $30 million. That's how much the ransom was for.
I don't even know if ransom is the right word.
It's a directive play. I mean, a definite block on finances and complete control of their finances because hello, they're able to control the casino. You control the casino, you control their finances. I look at this from 2 points of interest. Okay. One point of interest is with corporations, and the other one is when it comes to casinos and finances. The biggest thing is these infrastructures can be compromised so easily, especially with, I mean, hello, the way that we've allowed Chinese technology to enter our country. I mean, for God's sakes, Chinese companies own farms in this country. They have set
Oh,
up,
they buy up land next to our military bases.
yes, and I don't know if you know this too, a lot of our telephone towers were built in China and brought over here. So we have telephone towers all over this country that are all compromised. So look, I'm not a security analyst or anything of the sorts. The way I look at something like this is what can we learn as observers? We can learn on how sensitive and almost like weakness and vulnerability there is right now when it comes to large scale corporations and large finances.
Yeah, like how vulnerable it is, and
Whoa.
isn't it and I mean, it's interesting that it happened in Vegas, but, like, I also, like, had, like, a feeling that there was gonna be, like, an attack, you know? And I it's interesting that it's not,
They
Twin
have different
Towers anymore.
amounts. They have different
They
amounts.
they don't correlate, because I think it's happened more than once.
Oh my god. Yeah, these are from 2 or 3 days. This one's from Forbes. It was Caesar's Palace.
Well, it's all MGM hotels,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
'cause
It
they're
was
like they're, like, linked, but I don't know if Caesar's Palace is another one that also got hacked or whatever, but the Bellagio is completely hacked, and it was to the point where they're only taking cash payments for hotel rooms. And it's like people have, airplanes that take them there, and since this kind of thing isn't being talked about, people just show up in Vegas without knowing that, like, there's no way to go out to eat, there's no way to go to a casino, there's no way to get a hotel room, and you're just, like, fucking stuck there. And so you just gotta, like, get on a plane and, like, leave again, but, I mean, that really hurts America's economy, like, intensely because, like, Vegas makes a lot of money. I can't believe that somebody hasn't hacked Disney. You know what I mean? Like, if they know how to do that, just hack the fucking park. Like,
there
but I know that there's casino money, and so they probably want
this
that money.
this may bother some people to hear, but unfortunately, some of these large dogs like Microsoft and Disney, they have large shareholders across the borders and
Oh,
over the
yeah.
waters. So, whether we want to believe this or not, I don't generally have proof. This is what I've heard. It could very possibly be that Disney has shareholders in the Chinese regime in their Communist Workers' Party. And because there's common interest in wealth going back and forth, there may be an agreement over there. Because think about it, large corporations are not stupid. If they know this kind of stuff is a reality. Come on. I mean,
Well,
I
it's a reality, but it's actually I mean, maybe it's happened before, but it's never happened on my radar before. I've never actually heard of this, like, actually happening. Like, not to this scale. You know what I mean?
probably not. I mean, this is an immense amount of you got to understand this is a casino. Okay, you have to
Yeah, it's
understand
kind
like
of interesting that it's, like, it's also something that affects, like, the regular person, like because 'cause they're the patron. Like it's not like they just hacked a corporate
They're
company.
pouring their money into those machines constantly. Like, you're
I
right,
just think
yeah.
it's absolutely fascinating that they put out a ransom for it too. Like, where does the money get wired to? You know? And like, what brought this on? And I've also, like, always wondered about that big ass shooting that happened in Las Vegas at Mandalay Bay, which was also, like, an MGM hotel. And, like, I just feel like there was something going on there that none of us knew about. And I believe that he was, like, trying to get money from people or something like that. And he was saying, like, "Imma kill all these people down here, like, if you don't do something for me." And I think he was into, like, some big shit that other people don't know about. He's not just some random guy at
Well,
all. There's no
okay.
way.
So, a wake up call is a lot of these cities. Las Vegas was built on crime. It was built by hustlers, gang members, mobsters. And I live down here in Florida. Miami is built on cocaine to this day. That is what Miami is known for. I'm sorry. Like, that's just
Yeah,
a
there's a lot of
reality.
cocaine in Las Vegas too.
But
I mean,
it's
not
just like
enough, but
but these are cities ravished in crime. That's what is their income. Their income is
and
crime.
the prostitution, and not just prostitution, like illegal
Oh,
trafficking.
oh, it's high.
Yeah.
It's high.
Because there's regular, sex work that's, like, done correctly, and that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, like, the bad shit. Yeah.
Yeah, like people getting kidnapped and being in these human trafficking gangs and wards where like these people never come today. Like they literally just come in a van, they grab you, they throw you in there, they put you in a workforce, and this is what you do. You can't escape, you can't go anywhere. Like you're stuck. And
Yeah, they
you know,
always used to say there's a lot of holes in the desert.
for a good reason.
I don't know, so yeah, you're just saying, like, this city was built on crime, and I just for
It's
me, it's like an
inevitable.
example. Like, I feel like everybody look at this, like, this is only the beginning. Like, that's what I think, and it scares me a lot, like,
Look
I don't
at
know.
you know what's crazy? Look what crime has built. Crime has given us Chicago. Crime has given us Las Vegas. Crime has given us New Orleans. Crime has given us Atlanta. Crime has given us Miami. It's like all of these incredible cities that we love and enjoy, and they're just beautiful. They're built by criminals. They were built by criminals hundreds, like over 100 years ago, for criminal acts. That was the whole purpose. And like for them to come together and have a place to come to. And it's just odd of how like our brain span is just like that. Next week is something else. Next week is that. Da, da, da. We don't ever realize why are we doing these things? Why do these places exist? Like, why is this shit happening? And then you realize why. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
I just wonder what it means, and it's absolutely crazy how much it hasn't been on the news, like, at all. Like,
Oh,
it's
of
seriously
course not.
word of mouth. Like, I heard it from people who have actually gone to Vegas and have dealt with it, And then, like, there were posts about it on Facebook that got, like, taken down. So, I think this is the new thing. Like, before it was, like, COVID, and now it's gonna be, like, cyber hacks. I asked my mom about, like, are they able to, like, do the same thing with, like, Wells Fargo, Chase, Bank of America? Like, are people able, like, like, what happens? Because I could totally see the bank being like, "Oh, too bad," like, "Well, we've been hacked, like, we don't have your money either." You know what I mean? Like, and then it's just like fucking nobody has any money.
You see, it's interesting because like when reading through this story, it's
Yeah,
just
what's your story say?
okay. So I'm gonna give you guys just a little
And who's it
snippet.
by? Yeah.
This is a New York Post. This one is the most interesting from what I've read, and I skimmed through one from CNBC, and the other one was from Forbes. There was a few other articles, but like even going through, there isn't that many that's on it, and they all have different amounts, they all have different representations. But hear this. Okay, so it states the bad actors stole a copy of the Caesars loyalty program database, including the driver's license numbers and social security numbers for a significant number of customers. We haven't taken steps to ensure that the stolen data is deleted by the unauthorized actor. Although we cannot guarantee this result, Caesar said in this filing, we're monitoring the web and we've not seen any evidence that the data has been further shared, published. Caesars did not identify the culprits behind the cyber attack. However, a group called Scattered Spider, or UNC 3944,
What a
which
fucking name, man.
awesome, which specializes in
It's
social
not, but it
engineering
is.
attacks, is believed to be responsible to two sources familiar with the matter told by Bloomberg. The attack reportedly began around August 27th.
It's been a while. You know? Like, it's like,
It's
that's a few weeks, man. Like,
yeah. Wow, that's crazy.
it is crazy.
But
It's a what?
it's
Are we
crazy
supposed
how
to be talking about it right now?
no,
Probably not.
no, I'm just like it's a crazy how like 10 minutes ago I had no idea any of this exists. I mean, I had some idea that cyber attacks were going on, but who would think to this extent? I mean, this may seem small, but trust me, you see what's going on in San Francisco. We should get to that, by the way, because have you seen the shit that's been going on in San Francisco?
What's going on in San Francisco?
Well, basically, San Francisco has become a death hole. There is no criminal justice system, there's no police infrastructure of any kind. A lot of luxury brands have left, a lot of companies have closed up shop. It's to the point that San Francisco may be the next Detroit.
The other thing that I want to bring up is Lady Gaga. I've been very suspicious of what she's been doing recently because I see her.
Next time, send me over. And this is, by the way, just want to let you guys all know this. We talked about this last week. You got ideas for the podcast, interesting articles, whatever the shit is, send it to us. We have an email.
Yeah.
Send us on IG.
Yeah, we can talk about it. Yeah, we'd love to hear things that you guys want us to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
But my suspicion about Lady Gaga is that I've recently seen her doing a lot of jobs that Lady Gaga wouldn't have done before. And I feel like she's either hard up for money or she's trying to make a whole bunch of money right now for some reason so that she'll be okay later. But there absolutely makes no sense for Lady Gaga to be doing pharmaceutical commercials. Like, there's no reason for that. Like, she has way too much money. And, like, why on earth would she need to do pharmaceutical commercials? Also, why on earth would she need to do a residency in Las Vegas? Like, I'm a little suspicious. Like, it just doesn't line up with me. Like, this woman has, like, she can spend $1 million a day, like, and so why is she working so hard to make extra money at the moment? The other rumor that I heard is, like, totally unrelated, but it makes me very suspicious that, like, I feel like certain celebrities know about things before they happen. Like, they get some type of, like, inside information about things that are going to happen. There's a rumor going around that Oprah Winfrey hired a fire crew to protect her house before the fires happened in Hawaii. So,
This is already, by the way, anybody that's listening to this, you can check out the Joe Rogan podcast. This is important. They had recently an episode with one of the people that's out from Hawaii that was talking about this. He said that during the fires on the upper mountains, the sprinklers were going off on the golf courses. So the water, they shut off the water. So they weren't able to deter the fires at all. But the water was going up on the top of the mountains. So you got to ask yourself this question, like, and Oprah and Dwayne the Rock Johnson posted a whole thing, support Maui, support the Hawaiians. I'm like, you have fucking over $2 billion, maybe more.
Yeah,
Like,
why
who
don't
the
you do
fuck are
it?
you? Yeah, who the fuck are you to ask us for money? Like, who are you? Like, you're up on
I
the
hate
top of the
that
mountain.
I always really liked Dwayne. I always liked The Rock. Like, I always did, and
He's
so it bums me
fake.
out.
He's fake. Believe
Yeah,
he's
well,
on
it bums me
steroids and
out.
all that shit, and it's horrible. But
You know, I feel like there was one time that I kinda said something where I was, like, questioning Jason Momoa, and then I had a conversation with my mom, and she kinda clarified all my things, and I take back anything that I ever said about Jason Momoa where I was like, "What is up with this guy?" I think he's actually a really stand-up dude, and he actually made, like, a couple different posts saying, like, "Don't give money to anyone," like, over, like, Hawaii stuff because he's Hawaiian. His father was from Hawaii or a different area within there or whatever, but what I was mostly getting at is that Oprah knew that it was gonna happen before it happened. Like, and this is rumor, like, I don't know Oprah.
they
I
didn't
don't know if
also
it's true or not.
they didn't also fire the sirens. And the person that's responsible for agriculture, he didn't show up until a few days later. And when they finally confronted him, and he was like, oh well, we didn't sound the sirens because we only use them for tsunamis. And in their website and in the paperwork for Hawaiian, like, wildfire protection, all that shit, explaining in case of danger what you're supposed to do, it clearly states tsunamis, hurricanes, and wildfires. So, again, I don't want to, like, say, like, oh, they, like, murdered Hawaii, but there's clearly evidence here stating that innocent Hawaiians that are Hawaiian, they are from the islands, that have been living in Lahaina for generations. That's where they're from. That's where their culture is from. And they had no water. They weren't warned. They weren't cared for properly. The person that was responsible for the department didn't show up until days later. And, like, it hurts because we're Americans and these are supposedly American citizens as well. And they're being treated like shit right now.
Well, the other thing is that, like, I have friends who have gone to Hawaii, and, like, there's a massive homeless community in Hawaii, but, like, the homeless community in Hawaii is not like the homeless community in, let's say, Skid Row.
They take
The
care of each
homeless
other.
Yeah, the homeless community in Hawaii, like, they live off of the land, and they live, like, in the woods, and they make their own food, and they, like, get fish, and they all kind of, like, are friends with each other, and I think there is, like, with some of them, not everyone across the board, I think there is some drug use that's, like, not helpful to that community, but, people need some vices or whatever it is, I don't know, no judgment. But, like, I do know that that is part of it,
It
but,
is what
like,
it
the other
is.
thing is,
Yeah.
like, when my friend Cynthia here I go name dropping. When my friend went to Hawaii,
No one's gonna know. There's so many
no one
people
knows who
named
she
that
is.
name. Yeah.
When she went to Hawaii, she got a stick and poke tattoo from,
Those are
like,
painful.
the homeless community. Yeah, and so, like, they're all, like, doing their own tattoos and, like, honestly, it's a little too good to be true. They don't have to pay taxes, they don't have to do anything, they just get to, like, live and, like, live, And so, I do believe that part of the fires were to drive out the homeless community, the people who are just living like actual people, like humans, David, like freaking humans, not like in cars, on cell phones, in call centers. No, they're living like humans. They make their food from the earth, and they have the dirt under their feet and the sun above their heads. Like, it's like it works. Like
We
it works.
had
Like these people aren't sick. They don't need health care, like they're fine. Like, and here we are burning them out of like their areas and like ruining them, you know?
we had you remember we had Matthew Gray. I think he's in Oahu.
Oh, holy shit, we should talk to him again. But
I
yeah,
I'm gonna send him out an email. I just haven't had the time. But he
he loves
was
us.
of course he did. I mean, he has a really cool podcast. So really check it out. Like he brings people on from like all different sides of food and culture. And one thing that he told us on when we had him on the podcast was the feeling of being in Hawaii. When you meet somebody that's from Hawaii, and it's kind of strange because David Chapman, the one that murdered John Lennon, was living in Hawaii, which is kind of strange. But anyway, that's a story for another time.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was living in Hawaii. But I don't know, there's something about maybe the culture or the island, but the way I see the fires is in a direct attack at not necessarily Hawaiian culture, but Hawaiian living. Like, do you know how much it's going to cost to rebuild these homes and what they're going to do to raise them to be like over $4 million so nobody can afford to buy them? Like, that's what they're going to do to them now. They burnt the land down. So now they can buy it all up and take it away from everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like they wanna drive out, like, regular people, like, they don't I don't know, but I think what it really is, like, just getting rid of ancient cultures, like, just, like, the same way that, like, the Native Americans were taken away, the same way that, like, the Aborigines, like, all of it, like, it's just, like, they just wanna get rid of anything that isn't, just their big, beautiful melting pot that they're obsessed with, you
I
know?
I
Like,
remember
nobody can just be who they were. You can't do that. You've got to become what America is now, which is everyone, like, and it's like, that's great, but, like, people need the ability to have their individuality.
for sure.
Like, and
Yeah,
I don't
it's a
even think that they
must.
want the people in the Midwest to be who they are. I think they wanna get rid of that too. Like, they don't want the people in Texas to be who they are. They want it all gone. They want everybody to
You know,
just be no actual identity, just a whole bunch of all mixed up identities all thrown together.
I remember I was watching a clip. It was with a member of the Navajo Nation. And of course, being the person that was interviewing was asking a lot of gender and, sexual orient and all those questions.
What'd they
And
ask?
one question that they asked that came to mind was she asked I think it was a chief or a member. I think he was a board member for the tribe. And she said to him, what type of language do you use for someone that is masculine but is female? A person that's female but is masculine. And he starts to laugh and he's like, which type? He says, warrior by seas, warrior by horse, warrior by land. And everybody started laughing because in their culture, it doesn't matter if you're female or male. There are tribes in Native American culture, females were the warriors. They fought. They were the hunters. And a lot of this gets forgotten and people don't realize that there's all these different tribes, all of these different people that have these stories, and stories are important. It's why we're doing this podcast. It's why we interact with people every day. And whenever that gets destroyed, it's a very sad moment.
Well, I think it's like some type of screwed up communism to like start like saying, like this is for men and this is for women. Like it doesn't allow us to just like be like what we're good at. Like it's obvious that like some people are going to be good hunters regardless of if they're men or women. Like I think that's, I mean, we have to look at like individual skills instead of, just being like, well, you fall into this category, so like you can only do this. Like that,
Think
how far
about
can you get with that type of attitude?
we were talking about stick and poke tattoos. One thing about Polynesian and Hawaiian culture is tattoos represent your story and your life. That's why Hawaiians have tattoos. And the rings representing oceans, memories, stories, families, mothers, grandmothers, ancestors. So when you look at a Hawaiian that's covered in tattoos, that is their story. They're a walking, it's incredible. They're a walking art piece of their ancestry. And
Mhm.
like even Jason Momoa, like you can see from his tattoos, it's a very strong part of their culture.
Mhm.
And we don't have to do it, but you can learn a lot from it. Why do they do that? Why have they kept this so long? Why is this so important to them? There's, I guess, deeper layers to the onion that you can learn about it, maybe.
Yeah, The Onion isn't a book that you can pick up and read through.
You need to experience it.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of books,
Yes,
I get to go meet Chuck Palahniuk. Palahniuk. I can't say his last name as well as I should.
it's all
He's
right. I
the
don't think you
writer of
can
Fight
either.
Club. Yeah, the writer of Fight Club. I get to go meet him this week, and I've been reading Fight Club.
Watch the movie?
Oh yeah, I've seen it before, but I've been actually reading the book to like really, get a feel for the author and like his writing style. There was a thing that I read just the other night where he talks about hitting rock bottom and that hitting rock bottom is the only way that you're free to do anything. So I've been kind of like a lot of the stuff in the book was honestly like really, really, really depressing and kind of like hard for me to read because I protect myself from things that are kind of like morose and like depressing and stuff because like
And
I'm
livid.
very empathetic and so like it's easy for it to like get to me. So I kind of like distance myself from it. So as I was reading, I also like I feel like my mental health is like a lot better than it ever used to be. So like it was really hard for me to even like relate with a character that was as unhappy as he is. But I wanted to tell you that the other night there's a part where the one character says to the other, like, "Have we hit rock bottom yet?" And
I
his
love this.
answer, he's like, "Have we hit it yet?" And the other person, like, won't give him a real answer, and he says, "If Marilyn Monroe was alive right now, what would she be doing?" And then he, like, pauses, and he's like, like, "I don't know, like, I don't know," and he's like, "She'd be clawing at the lid of her casket." It's just and then the chapter ended. But I wanna ask him, like, is there, like, a message there? Like, will we put her in the ground, you know? Like, like, it's just it's a very, very clever statement. Like, she'd be trying to get out of a casket if she was alive right now. Like, the thing is that it kind of implies that people fill in the blanks. Like, when you ask a question, someone already fills in all the blanks. Like, no one said, like, if Marilyn Monroe had never died, what would she be doing right now? No, it's if she was alive right now. So it's us that like assume, like that she'd still been doing things all the way until now. And it's like you can't block out everything that has happened while answering people's questions. And that is what it is. It's like you just assume all these things when someone asks you this question and it's like no, just pay direct attention to what the real question is. It's if she was alive right now, not like if she had never died, if she'd always been doing what she'd been doing. Like, I don't know, I just think it was like I read tons and tons of stuff in that book and there were like 3 or 4 things that really stuck with me and that was one of them. She'd be clawing at the lid of her casket. It was I mean, it's extremely, like,
Well,
morbid.
you know that if Marilyn was clawing at her casket, she would be doing it dashingly, darling. But it is interesting on how with a play of the word, the way that you can persuade someone to do what you want. It's kind of like the perfect way of manipulating somebody to believing something that's complete bullshit and accepting it as fact. Like to tie into what you were talking earlier, because I was reading about this with Lady Gaga. It's like here's the reality check. Okay. we live right now in an era of no one is real. I could be a piece of shit. Carissa could be a piece of shit. We could all be pieces of shit. But I feel that doesn't take away from the fact that we're all terrified and we don't want to admit it.
Yeah. The thing that, really worried me about the Vegas thing is like the whole ransom. It's like, so they can't reverse it, like they can't undo it without paying these people, like it's like they have no way to
Scattered
stop it.
spider.
They have no way to stop it. Like, like you can't just like turn it off and start a new one or something like that. Like,
No, it's
also,
strange though.
like, I don't know. I just think it's strange. Like, if you can hack that, why can't you hack other things? Like, if you have that type of technology. The other thing that it brings me to is like, do you remember Terminator?
Yes.
Like, this is like a very, very old idea that's been around for a long time. And there's like a lot of different, it's like when someone hacks like the system and then manipulates it. And I think that like it's quite possible that that is like our modern warfare,
I
Skynet.
I remember I was talking with somebody that works in cybersecurity. I've known several people that have done that for a living. And the one thing that we always laugh about is the fact that whenever you watch a movie, okay, and here's a reality. To hack a computer system is not like and then boom, and then all of a sudden you're in. No.
Just like I've made it I've made it to the firewall.
No.
I'm almost there.
No. No.
Okay, I'm in.
No,
Like
no,
the
no,
Matrix,
no,
like
no, none of seriously, none of that is real. Like just to give you a real perspective of what hacking is, okay? He gave me this as an example. He says, imagine if you try to hack a military industrial complex, okay? Let's give an example. Let's just say you want to hack the company that's developing A-class missiles, okay? Warheads that go into aircraft or fighter
yeah,
jets.
man, they're gonna hack our freaking
Okay,
missile information.
so in
Like,
order to hack that system,
bad.
in order to hack that system, and this is what he told me, you'd need to have you would have to have 4 different computers, maybe even 5. They'd all have to be connected to a different driver, so nobody would figure out where you are, and they would have to have a different proxy in a different location. So you'd basically be blank. And then what you would have to do is you'd have to run simulations and tasks. So you'd have to constantly be inputting codes and getting errors back and forth, moving from one panel to the next. And you're like, okay, how long does that take? Well, if you take a scenario like Caesar's Palace, I would assume something like that would have taken them about 2 to 3 days. That's realistic. Would have taken them about 2 or 3 days to actually hack and get
Not
into
a
their
lot of
system.
time. Like, think of
That's
how long COVID took. Like,
oh
it
yeah.
took a while to, like, spread, Like, I don't know. I think that, like, 3 days is pretty fast. The other thing I wanted to look up was, like, how many people's jobs are affected by this? Like, think of how many people work at Caesar's Palace. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like, how are they gonna pay those people anymore? And, like, is Las Vegas gonna shut down?
No.
Like, yeah, if they go bankrupt, how the fuck are they gonna do that?
Well, here's the here's another wake up call. And unfortunately, our country has been ravaged by the cartel. And one of those things is the drug routes. There are quite a number of routes in this country that are routes to different ports to transport different types of chemicals and items as such that, when ingested, can be addictive and deadly in some cases or matter or form. And it's like one of those things where if the US lost Las Vegas, we would be in serious trouble. Same thing with Chicago. Like, it seems like, okay, what big deal? But We don't realize how much money is pumped into this country that is from the black market, especially from illegal drugs. Like, we're the perfect country to import and export drugs. Think about it. Just think about our like location. Either side of our country is the Pacific and Atlantic Ocean. One goes to Europe, one goes to Asia. Awesome. And then on the top of us, you can go to Canada. Even better. And then you have the whole South America, so everybody can import everything through America. It's like,
Ibiza.
yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot of partying. I feel like that was I definitely, like, reconsidered my involvement with, like, party drugs, and I would ask that everyone kind of think about this. The fact that, like, it might seem like you're just trying to have fun and, like, you're young and, like, you're, being careful, you're not doing too much, like, whatever, but, like, you are
just a little
supporting
cocaine, just a little cocaine, just a little in the nose, just a little,
That's
just
how
a
it
touch.
starts. But I feel like you're supporting those people. Like, as
Mm-hmm.
much as, like, you're removed from everything and you're just at your party with your friends enjoying, your DJ or whatever, or your birthday, your pool party, whatever, think about where that shit actually came from and who's actually making money off of it and all the other things that they're making money off of. And, like, just think about, like, the women and children that are being trafficked with the same exact money that, is your drugs, is your MDMA, is your Molly, is your Coke, is your everything.
Yeah,
Like, it's just like, if you want to walk around and act like, you're sick of child trafficking, then you better put down all your fucking drugs too. And it's like, that's the
yeah.
world that we live in. Like,
It's just pure
I mean,
awareness.
that's kind of why it's like, talk to the person who, grew the weed, you know, near you. Like, they're an actual, like, person that in LA, there's people who started, weed companies, and they grow a drug that is, not involved in that shit. And it's like, do that, man. Like, like, stop. Just get mushrooms from the guy that grew them in his closet. Like, you don't need to be contributing to child trafficking. Like,
It's really, it's really,
I can say that now because I've done all the partying I want to do. I
it's re-
mean,
it's
can't
really
say that.
strange. It's really strange because we live in this in vast country with so many different types of people, and we spend so much of our resources outside. There's never ever any focus on this country, on our education, our housing crisis, the wealth and well-being of American citizens, and so much more. And I'm not,
No,
it's
the
not
federal
asking for
government
much.
doesn't do shit. The only way that, like,
Crazy.
education is taken care of, or the well-being of, like, people, is by, like, their own state governments. Like, that's the only people that are actually gonna watch out for their own people because they, like, live there too, So, like, the federal government, I mean, I feel like I'm making a big, like, statement here, but they don't give a shit
I mean,
about, like, a
look at
regular
Hawaii.
person.
We
Yeah.
talked about Hawaii. Like, look at their government. I mean, it's an absolute mockery. Like, these people literally don't give a shit about human beings. Clearly,
Well, it's like, who's gonna get attacked next? You know?
that's
And
a
are they gonna put a
that's an
bunch of
interesting thought.
casinos in Hawaii? Like, I don't know, like, I'm just
Shit.
like, what? Like, but honestly, like, where's the next cyber hack? And have a bunch of cyber hacks happened that no one has told us about? I mean, that's a good question too. Like, is it already a problem that people aren't communicating about? Like, I don't
Yeah.
know, it worries me, and it worries me the most when it comes to, like, national security, when it comes to, like, that you could hack our missile system. You could hack our military,
Okay. The
like.
thing is, though, and this is something really important to understand. the military industrial complex in general, their security systems, because a lot of these companies are private, okay? They will hire private freelance contractors like cybersecurity, techs, engineers, and they'll bring them on board. They have people that hack, they hire people to hack their system for them, okay? And the purpose of this is they constantly are updating their systems. So there are security systems that are safer than others, and there are ones that are going to be much harder to hack. It's interesting how this happened with Caesar's Palace, because you think a company like this with that type of infrastructure, they would have that type of system. Hardened, hackers, hired freelance engineers and IT technicians, a part of their staff constantly monitoring. I mean, it's just, I smell a rat, I'll be honest with you.
Well, a lot
Yeah,
of times I think that things are put in the news in order to scare people.
possibly,
And
yeah.
so, like, this isn't in the news, you know? So, like, it's not manipulation. It's not propaganda. It's not just like built to freak people out, you know? Like, it's legit. And the fact that they actually have to pay them off means that, like, it's working. You know, it's absolutely terrifying. Like, and
They would have to seriously fix their system to be able to stop this. I mean,
well, yeah, and it's like, is the government supposed to interfere now? Like, are they supposed to protect these casinos because it's like kind of protecting the United States to an extent?
well,
Like,
the interesting thing is because the immense amount of private investment that the US government has, because you have to understand a lot of the departments of the US and district, I'm doing this like anybody's not watching, this is quotations. They're they're not owned by the government.
no.
They own the government. So it's not like government owns them, it's vice versa. I feel that's why you get kind of stuff like this. Maybe, it could be rivalry between groups. We don't know.
Yeah, you wonder the motive. And then there's always that idea of like, do they know something that we don't? Like, you
Ooh,
know, like
yeah.
what if they're the good guys and the casinos are the bad guys? You know, like, and I guess no one knows if like it's actually tied to the cartel or not. What type of criminals these are that are doing it, you know, like I
It
don't
sounds like a
know.
Quentin Tarantino film right now.
It sounds like a movie.
Yeah,
Like, and that it's because like I feel like a lot of movies have been made that way. People kind of like know what's coming. Like, I don't know, even in Fight Club, they talked about like exploding like the biggest, tallest building in New York City. And this was in 1996. And so like
there's a reason for that, by the
writers
way.
what?
There's a reason for that. The reason, a lot of people have like these conspiracies of like, oh, people predicted that. The reason was there was a bombing in the World Trade Center
Yeah.
that took place in the 90s, and it was in their parking garage, and it was very bad. It was
Yeah, I
seriously.
know. And that's kind of like what the first page of Fight Club is like. Like it's like they talk about that, but this is 1996. I'm like, when did that first attack happen in the basement with the,
um
you
i'm
know,
gonna i'm gonna fact check,
structural
but
they tried to like, you know, explode it from the ground down and it didn't really work the way that they wanted. So then the terrorists
that's what
decided
happened.
to yeah.
But that's what I think happened, is where comedians and writers heard this and they were like, oh, like what if somebody would bomb, you know a skyscraper, like destroy a building in New York City. I think
Or do
that's
you think
where
it's
it came from.
possible? Do you think it's possible that people have like a feeling, you know, that there's like a somehow people like kind of know what's going to happen. Like like I don't know,
1993.
like so 93. So yeah, that attack so the writer could have been, writing from something that they'd heard about or whatever. It's all, you know, eh, very very far removed from what I do on a daily basis, you know? And I mean, so was,
I don't even want
everything.
I don't want to read this, but I think I should.
Where is
Can
it?
I?
Where'd you find it? What is
This is
it?
about the bombing.
Yeah, it's dark, isn't it? I feel
Yeah.
like read it though if you think it's significant,
We
like,
later learned from Yosef, which was the person that was held responsible for this, that his Trade Center plot was far more sinister. He wanted the bomb to topple one tower, with the collapsing debris knocking down the second. The, atter- the attack turned out to be something of a deadly dress rehearsal for 9/11. And with the
Mhm.
help of Yusef's uncle Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, Al Qaeda would later return to realize Yusuf's nightmarish vision. So, damn, and yeah, in a way, like 1993 was their test. That was the first time they tested on how to destroy these two buildings. Shit,
Yeah.
they succeeded.
It but, like, it's not enough, It's like they took down the towers and they still wanna keep taking shit down,
It's
Like,
not
it's
them
like
anymore. It's us. We keep on wanting taking things down. I mean, like what's going on with Ukraine.
it's
It's kind of
both, but
it's kind of hilarious. Like we spent 20 years in Afghanistan, and now we're spending this time in you know, and it's not even, again, we're not a political podcast in any regards, but just think about all of the money that's being poured into another war all over again. So what does that mean for us? That means inflation spikes again. That's what happens. And it's like,
no. We're not a political podcast, but
no.
I talk about what it's like to be an American, And I we have viewers that listen from other countries
Oh
and
yeah,
stuff
from
like
the
that.
UK and South
And so
America.
like
Yeah.
this is not a political thing. This is a life experience thing. This is like
Yeah.
what it feels like to be here in
Right
America.
now in
Yeah.
2023 in September or
And I
October.
just
I don't remember.
there's a lot of fear. I think a lot of the fear stems from the amount of safety that I have at this moment. Like if I didn't have all this luxury and safety, I might not be so afraid of you losing it,
Yeah,
you know?
there are people that don't have access to clean water. That is a reality, or proper sanitation in any shape or form, or electricity. But you know what? I think the strangest thing about living here in the United States in 2023 is we're more aware than we ever have been. We see more than I think we've ever seen in
Mhm.
our entire life. And the fact that we're able to have an open conversation and we're not shut down and told to shut the fuck up, it's kind of nice.
I think they'd just kill us, like they did Marilyn Monroe. I don't think they would, like, shut us down, but, Facebook shuts a lot of shit down. Like, I could see, like, somebody, like, being like, "Well, none of your things are fact checked," and then all of a sudden the whole thing's, like, gone.
Well,
You know what I
actually,
mean?
a lot of our
And it's
content,
like, I never claim that it's fact. I often say, "This is a rumor. This is something I have heard," you
yeah.
know? But
But
sorry.
no, no, no. We've actually had content been monitored. Yeah,
What's
quite a
that
bunch.
like?
I've gotten messages. It sucks. I made a post on our story a little bit ago. It kills our numbers. I mean, we're dealing with another drop again. I get used to it. It's just something you have to deal with as a content creator and as a podcast. And I'm being realistic. Like, if you're doing something like we're trying to be open and honest and have our own opinions and have our own perspectives, they come after you.
Mhm.
And like it doesn't matter that we only have like, a little more than 100 subscribers on YouTube and shit. Like they still will check your stuff and monitor it. Like it just goes to show you they're definitely watching every single person that's putting things out every day. How they're doing it, I don't know how they're managing to doing it, but they're doing it.
Yeah, it makes me not want to like read everything, look at everything cuz like I know that I'm being like manipulated. I mean, I don't watch the news, like at all. So the things that I talk about are things that I've actually heard from actual human beings, like
Or
people that
like
I
we've
know.
read articles and stuff where you send me things
Well,
over.
yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes I do feel like Forbes is a pretty like non-biased. That's always one that like I've let like, pop up on my feed, and I won't like 100% like read the whole story, but I'll like to see like what it is that people are talking about. Cuz I don't want like that much of like all the media to like sink into my mind, but I kind of like to know like what are the people around me worked up about, you
Right.
know? And I used to go to work and I would like be around people and I would like hear all of their gossip. And that was kind of how I would like get my news is like I would know like, okay, so this is what people are afraid of right now. This is what people are listening to. This is what they're hearing. So for me, that's what I started doing ever since the pandemic because I didn't want all of the manipulation like getting at my head. Like I wanted to like have my own mind,
Own
you know?
control of what you hear. Yeah, I've basically I've done that, and it's very surprising. Like kind of tying back, we were saying earlier, my mom has started to do that as well. And my mom was telling me like she doesn't really listen to news, because when my dad was alive, constant news all the time, and my mom, she just was never interested, and it was kind of the same thing. Like I hear from other people, I'll read something interesting, like having control of your own thoughts, being able to read things, read multiple articles, see the facts. Like I've listened to the Joe Rogan podcast. There are other podcasts that bring people on. That's what's going on in Hawaii or what's going on in regards to the cartel and the drug situation. And they go into that in depth and detail. And yes, it's not a 5 minute, commercial to Lady Gaga selling Zyrtec, but you know, it's
Why is she selling Zyrtec? Like, that's a job for, like, a person that, like, is, like, out of money.
she suffers from migraines, and
And
her
she
her
because of her own common interests, that's why
correct.
she's making these
Yeah,
commercials? Ridiculous.
ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And it's nuts. So it's like, can you imagine Audrey Hepburn? I'm giving this as an example because God bless her soul. Can you imagine Audrey Hepburn doing an opiate commercial? No, absolutely not. Audrey Hepburn being like, it will take the pain away. I promise. No, never going to happen, never will happen. But it's a clear point and it's a clear perspective. It's like you got to choose. There's a ton of shit that's going all over the place. You can stay on TikTok going all day, but you're the one in the driver's seat, my man. Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, if we kinda go back to, like, the beginning thing with, like, you know, like, my mom just, like, moving all my things around and how it is just kind of like a un subconsciously un it makes me just a little uncomfortable to have like my own things like messed with all the time, by like a person that, is actually looking out for my own interests, like whatever. But like the yeah, this would be more of an example of like Big Brother, like moving shit around without your best interests. And it is very uncomfortable and unnerving and like really just like it stirs everybody up. Everybody's really uncomfortable because like things are not where you left them. Shit just gets like moved around.
Do you remember what I told you in regards to the one thing that your moms want more than anything is for you to just be happy? And more than that is
Are we like being hacked like currently?
Probably. Thank you for hacking us, cyber
Like the
stacker
podcast just
spider.
like stops.
Like for a second.
And like we're just hacked
Whoa.
at this exact
Yeah.
moment.
But anyway, I
Oh
mean,
no. It's just me, Garth, alone on the podcast.
well, you can't see me. You can't see me.